Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Untitled Reviews. This being a show, it's about dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Kung Fu. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So this episode gave us at least a somewhat better understanding of what Russell Tan is up to, at least how he's going about things. We still don't know what the end result is going to be, but I was kind of tiptoeing in the right direction last episode. That basically he needed the energy from the 8 weapons last season to activate the properties of the bell. Whatever it is that the bell's going to do in the grand scheme of things, he needed that power to unlock it. But even he's like, right, that power would have destroyed me, so it's a no-go. So that's where Mia comes in, because he can't... He needs something powerful as a sacrifice to activate it. So it can't be just a warrior bloodline, and it can't be someone from a guardian bloodline. It has to be someone like Mia, who is a rarity, born from both bloodlines together. So it makes her special, and her special blood and her special property will activate the bell and do whatever it is that Russell needs to do. So, but in the grand scheme of things, Nikki is... And I think that's kind of a powerful element to this episode, is that Nikki is so focused on things going wrong last episode, like losing Mia, being a step behind on Russell collecting the bell, that she is so desperate to handle everything. She kind of shoulders a lot of it on her own, kind of once again forgetting, like, she's not alone. She's got people by her side. She's got Henry, she's got her sister and her brother there to help her through this. So obviously they learn about Kerwin being back into the fold. They don't know that Jilan tried to kill him last season. He's putting on this front and this air of like, right, I'm back with the family, everything's good, I'm learning from my dad and sister, everything's great, I was in an accident but now I'm recovering and everything's good. So putting up this false pretense and forefront to the world, I guess mainly doing it so to make his father and sister think he's more so fallen in line. He was just waiting for his moment to strike, but right now he's not in a position to strike. He's not in the inner circle, so he doesn't know everything that his father's up to until Henry and Nikki came to him. And obviously they also learn about Jilan, how his father is like, right, my father's gift to me was sending a death squad after Jilan. And he's like, I saw the body, a charred body. I'm like, that's why you left the pendant behind. Because, yeah, the body's going to be burned beyond recognition. Extra reason why to burn everything down. So it's like the prison probably didn't burn down entirely, but enough to burn the body. And with the pendant there, that was enough to be like, oh, that's Jilan. That's why you never bothered taking it, because it being behind was enough to make people not look too deep into it. It's like, right, we'd have to really, it's probably like hard to even get dental records under those circumstances, so it's probably better to just be like, it's dependent, that's what Jilan had, maybe it has her DNA on it, so that's all they needed to confirm it was her. So it didn't even cross my mind to think that that's why she left. I'm sure symbolically it means a lot for her to leave it behind, but it was also practical to leave it behind because people will believe that you're dead. I thought things were going to line up a little bit better, like with Nikki's plan and everything to destroy the bell and Jilan, because we see that she's in town and has a rifle, has a sniper rifle, so you're like, right, she's gunning for Russell. I thought there was going to be a little bit more there, like I thought Nikki was going to luck out where it's like Jilan would end up trying to gun for Russell, and either that would screw up their plans, unluckily, or luckily end up being the distraction they needed type of thing. But Jilan's move kind of came a little after Nikki was already making her move, working with Kerwin. Because he laid out all the plans, and I love that he's just kind of like, right, I can't do all the work for you. So... because he's trying to get as much information as he can, but his sister is still keeping him at arm's length when it comes to all of this, so... I was curious whether or not Kerwin was going to betray his father, whether he was going to, betray Nikki, but it's like, no, he's well past, being in his father's good graces, especially because his sister telling him the truth previously really set the tone for him, because it's... you never cared about me. You didn't even want to save me. That Juliet's the one that went out of her way to save. And also, it's like, kind of, I think he loves and appreciates his sister for that, but it's always going to be a thing of, there's always going to be a love-hate relationship with us. Maybe as long as my father's in the picture, our father's in the picture, it'd always be that. But even if it wasn't, there's no happy medium for them anymore. Like, they're past the point of just being regular siblings. They will always be in competition with each other. He doesn't want that, but his sister thrives in that because, you know, Kerwin now sees his father for who he is, and it's like, all I ever did was strive for Dad's love, and that's what Juliet does too, just to prove that she's the best. So Kerwin's just like, I'm not about to be a part of that anymore. I see my father for what he is, and I want no part in all of this. So, yes, it's, you know, both a little altruistic, but also selfish in his means. Altruistic because it's like, right, I recognize my dad to be the bad guy that he is, but also selfish from the perspective of, I just want to take my dad down and make him pay for all that he kind of put me through growing up. You know, pitting me and my siblings against each other, making me feel like I was never good enough, that, you know, I felt I needed his love and attention. So, obviously, they're planning to break in, and Ryan coming up with the concoction needed to dissolve the bell. And I love that Ryan's just kind of like, Nikki kind of ends up bringing him along at the end of the day after they got the ingredients that they needed. And Ryan, you could tell, is super happy about, like, going along with Nikki and Henry. And you could tell immediately, too, it is this situation where he wanted to kind of be more in the mix. He was kind of making excuses each time, like, no, shouldn't I be a part of this? And it's like, no, Ryan, you don't need to. But being brought into the fold, he really appreciated it. Obviously, he came through a lot in this episode. He's the one that was able to apply everything to melt down the bell. But he was also there to help the guy, Ronnie, who... Because the guy's like, yeah, I'm getting paid good money by Russell Tan to, like, fix his bell. So he ended up pressing the alarm, kind of putting them on the wire. But luckily, they were able to do both. Destroy the bell and take care of Ronnie, which Ronnie even was like, hey, thanks, all right, there's an exit, like, get out. Because they're not, I mean, I guess it's like, right, all you were doing was destroying a bell. It's not like they hurt him, they weren't doing anything else, so it's like, cool. Especially, it was tough for Kerwin, especially when his sister walked in, and he played into, like, right, I'm just cheating, I'm just trying to get a leg up, like, I'm not aiming for number one, but I want to have a seat at the table. And his sister, because in her own way, she does care about her brother, and it's like, fine, I'll let you have this opportunity to have a leg up, you know. Gave them the opportunity they needed, but at the same time, Jilan shows up. I wasn't expecting them to have their confrontation this episode, and obviously for him, it's like, oh, you thought I was dead. It's like, you betrayed me. You not only did you try to kill me, you broke my heart, because you know I would never was going to betray you, but she was like, I couldn't. You know why I had to do what I had to do. And the two of them fight. And despite everything, you can see the hesitation, the looks that they gave each other. It's there, that feeling of like what was there is still there. And at the end of the day, Kerwin tells Jilan, like, I want to hurt my father, but the way you do that, you don't go about going after him directly. You don't kill him. You hurt what he loves most, which I immediately was like, because I thought was interesting. Kerwin made sure not to tell her about the fact is I'm actually working with Nikki Shen, because he knew that'd probably rub her the wrong way, because it's, well, I'm assuming his father and sister filled him in about the aftermath of everything that went down over the weapons that Jilan lost. I mean, he knew that she was locked up, so I guess he probably automatically knew, like, Nikki was already a sore subject and didn't want to add more to that, so. But I'm also sad, like, I kind of wanted there to be... It's like, you also can't work with her again, because you already know she will never fully trust you, and you can never fully trust her, considering she tried to kill you in the long run. So whatever there was between them probably won't exist anymore now. So, because at the end, Kerwin's just leaving. I was like, oh, I was actually surprised by that. But it's like, right, he set fire to the family situation. At the very least, he hampered his father's plans, and he set things in motion to screw him over even more. So it's like, cool, I'm just going to leave, and I'm not even going to worry about it. So I don't know if this is going to be the last we see of Kerwin. Who knows if Russell is actually going to bother going after Kerwin. because I guess he always has the potential to swoop in and claim whatever it is of the Tan legacy that might exist. If Russell's taken down, maybe at the end of the day, Kerwin can swoop in and take over everything and run it the way he wants to. Or, maybe Russell gets dealt with by the end of the season, but Juliet has positioned herself to be top dog and she steps up to become the new antagonist. It just depends on how everything plays out this season, or whether she guns for the throne herself and goes, you know what, Dad, you set everything in motion, I don't need you anymore, and decides to kill her dad herself. Because that's the thing, maybe that's why Kerwin was so adamant about, not, because it's going after my dad directly is always going to be a fool's errand. You're never going to get close enough. It's never going to work out the way you want it to. Or maybe it's just partially, I don't want you to kill my family. I don't want you to kill my dad. I don't want you to kill my sister, because regardless of my issues with them, they're still my family. But you can destroy them without killing them. Sadly, neither one of them knew that Mia is Nikki's cousin, because she didn't provide that information. They just know, they were just this is where Mia comes into play. But Kerwin was you know about that. That's all he knew it as. He didn't realize they had a direct correlation with it, with the whole Mia situation. So it's going to be interesting, because Jilan's just going after Mia, not realizing she's definitely going to be crossing paths with Nikki. They're going to clash again. In fact, I think it is more so they're going to work together to stop these former enemies, especially because it's they're tied by Pei Ling. It's her and, there's also the distance, relation, but also on top of that was my Sifu, that was her sister. So they were willing to work with Kerwin despite what he did. It's Jilan's got quite a few bodies under her belt as well, so more so than Kerwin. So it's going to be interesting to see in the long run when they finally meet up again, because Nikki has no idea where Mia is. Mia, however, is looking for her dad, because wants to handle things on her own. Very much like Nikki kind of did this episode, but Nikki luckily has that foundation of repairing her family, and now they're there to support her and try to be there for Mia. But I think it's going to take a while. It's not going to be until Mia realizes you can't do this alone. Going at it alone, it's just going to make everything worse. So we'll see how that all plays out. Juliet does believe she can help her father. It's we got the measurements of the bell and stuff. You might not have the bell anymore, but all we need to do is find something. Now that we have the dimensions of it and stuff, we can just recreate the sound it makes, so it can still be a substitution that potentially could work. It's going to be interesting to see whether that without the bell, will it have full effect? I guess the bell makes a very specific resonance that needs to be, sound that needs to resonate. So I guess as long as you can completely copy that to some extent, then it will all be okay. But we'll see. She's just Father, just give me the chance. I'm sorry, Kerwin was my blind spot. You did tell me, but don't worry, I'm done. He's gone. Let me be there to serve you. I mean, it helps her in the end. She was already on track to be number one anyway. She always has been, so it didn't really matter. So, like I said, it's going to be interesting to see if we get any more Kerwin this season. I feel like this might be his exit. If not permanently, or at least for now. So, but I also love the trickle effect that this has had on, Althea as well as Ryan. Althea kind of started thinking why do I enjoy doing all this? It's we're helping people, we're stopping a bad guy. But then Althea's no, that's not it. I mean, she's all that other stuff, yeah, but it's also because, all these job offers she's getting because knowing that her previous job was backing her when she exited, but the video went viral. And I guess it's almost, the equivalency of, I wonder, was that referencing? Because I'm sure there's been plenty of examples over the years, but there was one example years and years and years and years ago about someone, there was a lady I think who publicly quit her job in a very I think she did it through social media. I don't remember what it was. It was a big hullabaloo back in the day. This was less than a decade ago or something like that. This was like, I forgot what the exact circumstances of, like, it was like a big thing at the time of like how someone quit their job, and it was like such a public like thing on YouTube, I think. I don't remember all the details now. It like Althea like kind of getting all this recognition after the fact kind of gave me that feeling. And ultimately, Althea decided she doesn't want to work for anyone. She doesn't want to have a boss, so she's planning on starting her own business, and she's reaching out to all these other coders out there. So, starting her own venture going forward. And Ryan's kind of in a similar thing that he's been aiming for something for so long, and now that he finally has it, it's like, yeah, but I've never been outside of the country. I'm never going to have, like, he wanted to take a year off and just kind of go and have an adventure, but it's like, am I really content with spending the next like 5 to 6 years, like, or 6 to 7 years, like, working towards this whole, this medical field angle that he's going, like, continuing down that route? Like, if I do this, I'll be 30 by then, so what am I going to do? But then he decided, like, right, there's plenty of adventure back home, here, right, at home, working with his sister, so it all works out in the end. And even, he had that run-in with Sebastian earlier in the episode where he was kind of not sure about everything, which, once again, there's still something there. And even Nikki and Henry at the end were like, whoa, look at that. Like, they're kind of sensing those vibes, especially when Sebastian walks up to him. But then Ryan's like, no, like, at the end, he's good. Like, he feels happy. He found, like, kind of like the path he wants to be on. Which is a thing I think a lot of people are going through this episode, because we have Jen visiting Frank. It was kind of like this art, like, kind of, we get a better understanding what it is that, like, Frank does. It's like an art thing. And sadly, he doesn't have, like, the money. He's also, like, older now, so it's like, I'm just tired. So, because they talk a little bit about Jen was actually going to paint something back in the day, but it never got finished because he married Mei Li. They had the whole restaurant thing. So, but, Frank doesn't want to, he's like, yeah, I'm too old to be going at this alone. And it seems like Jen decided, then I'll help you out. Because he tried to give him money, but Frank's like, no, like, I don't want your money. Like, I'm already getting paid. I'm going to be because someone's already bought, I think he was saying like a studio next door has already decided to buy him out, and he's just going to take that. Because so much of the community has changed, and so Jen goes to Mei Li and she's like, oh, you're leaving me. He's like, I'm not leaving you. She's like, yeah, but you're leaving the restaurant. I was like, the way she said that was so dramatic. Like, you're leaving me. I'm like, what? And I guess to an extent he is. We don't know how much of an exit this is, but Jen says, like, right, I'm not going to be that far away, but it's just like more so I'm taking a step away from the restaurant. She's like, I'll miss you. And he's like, but she's like, no, but I'll miss you. Like, I don't think it's a situation of, hey, I'm leaving the house and stuff. Like, we'll still see each other at the house. I don't know. I don't know whether he's just, like, moving in with Frank and stuff like that to help out with the business and stuff like that. Or they're going, because he's like, right, I want to go around and help Chinatown because it's changing so much. So, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what the long run of what that means. Because I interpret it as like a thing of I'm stepping away from the restaurant, but obviously I'm still going to be home and stuff. But I think either way for Mei Li, it's like we've been in this together for so long. Me doing this without you just feels crazy. But Jen's like, yeah, like I wasn't here to help, yet you were still able to keep going even without me. You found your passion, the thing that you're good at, and I'm glad I've been able to help you along that road. He's finding something he's passionate about that he wants to do, and he wants to help out Chinatown, and it's like, it's not like I'm ever going to be so far away, so I thought that was kind of a beautiful thing. So it's going to be interesting to see whether Jen's story ends up being something we see in the forefront, especially because it kind of coincides with like all this Russell stuff with him buying up so many properties in town. And I think maybe this will be something that's in the forefront, or maybe it's just going to be something that's always going to be like the background in a sense that it will never be in the show, but maybe they'll reference every once in a while what Jin's up to. So, speaking of family stuff too, there is the whole situation with Henry where we learned that his dad's like, hey, I'm in town. I'm going to be there in a little, you want to meet up? And Nikki's like, oh, who is that? And he's like, oh, it's no one. So I was like, oh, okay. I don't know if Henry talked too much about his family circumstances last season. So it's going to be interesting to see why he's kind of avoiding his dad, why like him and his, I mean, we know Henry kind of ran the rough patch back in the day. So maybe there's some correlation there. maybe his dad's just never been in his life a lot, and so it's like his father always attempts to reach out, but it's like, no, I'm not all about that. You've had your chances and you've failed to be there for me in the past. Well, like I said, I don't remember if it ever really came up in season 1. Maybe it did. If it did, let me know in the comments down below, but I don't think it did. But either way, I'm interested to find out what that's all about. I should also point out, I was curious whether, like, this was going to be, like, I'd reference Stargirl, where it's like, oh, every episode is like, oh, this is, God, what is it? What am I thinking? Oh, Summer School Chapter 1. Like, there was a subtitle for Season 2. It looks like there's going to be, there's a subtitle for Season 3 as well. But I was curious whether or not this season was going to have that, was like, oh, Year of the Tiger. But it's like, no, that was just the first 2 episodes, because this episode is just called The Bell. So I was like, okay, so it's not. Well, it is still a different naming convention than the last season, where, once again, every title was basically a single word. So it is going to be a different thing. It's just, I think the first 2 episodes were kind of like represented as 2-parters, so that's all it was. So, but it'll be kind of just a different naming convention than I was thinking it would be at the beginning, but it's still going to be a different naming convention episode-wise in comparison to season 1. So, either way, just a small thing that I thought was kind of interesting. I'm really excited to see where the next episode ends up taking us going forward with all of this. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.